What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Just running some early morning errands before I catch my flight over into Houston today, because we got the LaPeef Let's Talk show over the weekend. That should be fun. You know, I'm going to be vlogging the whole time, so you'll catch a glimpse of it and why you should probably be at the next show. Definitely sold this one out, so look like we popping, right? In addition to that, I did want to make sure that I give you guys some game and some insight into how I see college, right? Because there's a lot of people that think that college is a scam. The sun got me popping today, don't it? College is not a scam. Don't think for 5 seconds that college is even remotely a scam. It's not a setup by the federal government to take more money out of your pocket. But what it does is it exposes your inability to be able to manage yourselves effectively once you become an adult. I've always said that when you give people the option to choose for themselves, more often than not, they choose wrong. And you see it. You see how people are unprepared. As young kids, they blame the government. They say, yo, it's whoever this current sitting president's fault. At the time, they say it's the system that's set up to fail you. Running in the Victim Olympics, we all know what that looks like. And we're all no stranger to the amount of stories of people that say that, yo, I took out this college loan, I can't pay it back, I went and got an underwater basket weaving degree. You got options. You got options, and it's nobody's fault as to why you turned out the way you turned out once you become an adult, because you can't sit here and say, well, I should be able to do what I want to do, and then when you have the option to do what you want to do, you do what you want to do, and it doesn't yield the results you want, and then you want to blame everybody else for it. Nah, you got to keep that same energy all the way across the board. It does not change. You should not change, and you have to be consistent. But let me break it down for you as to why college is not a scam, why you should be looking at things a little bit differently, and how you can get better results. So, first and foremost, the problem with people, especially of, let's just say, my community, the problem with the majority of the people in my community, and honestly, it's not even just the people in my community, because it's people across the board that have problems and are experiencing these same issues. It's just always more pronounced when the majority of the people that you surround yourself with or you grew up with look like you. For all intents and purposes, let's just speak to it holistically. The problem with people is that they always want to take shortcuts, right? And we don't have any long-term vision. When you see what people do in college, they're not even there for the right reasons. Me personally, I remember when I first graduated high school and I went to a private college. I went to UAD, University of Detroit, right? And it was a private college and the tuition was high. And I seen that bill, and I didn't have any scholarships or any financial aid because my parents made too much money. They made just enough money to where I couldn't really get financial aid, and not enough money for it to really make an impact on my college education. And I wasn't expecting them to pay it anyway. But I seen that bill, and I was like, nah, I can't keep doing this. I went and got a job. I paid off the entire bill, and I didn't have any student loan debt at that time, right? But more importantly, I learned a lesson, and I got up out of there. I did not continue to go to college. As a matter of fact, I didn't even re-enroll in college until I went to community college once I got laid off. Well, not laid off, fired from the job that I was at right before the recession. But the thing about it is that what I seen and what I still hear today, even on these panels, people are there for the wrong reasons. They're not there to study, most of them. They're there to party. They're there to bust down the chicks. It's the first sign of freedom. They want to make sure they stay on campus. They're not there to get the real experience that come along with it. And so what I often see at times when I'm coaching people, when they tell me their story, they say, yeah, initially I was there to be a mechanical engineer or a software engineer, or I wanted to become a doctor. And then I reduced my degree down to business administration. And then I reduced it down to marketing. And now I got some kind of liberal arts degree in underwater basket weaving. You can't sit there and take out a bunch of student loans, get an underwater basket weaving degree, don't make no money, make $40,000 a year, but then you got $150,000 in student debt. It's not that college is a scam. The problem is that you are making bad decisions early in your life because you don't realize how it's going to impact you long term. And so you live for the moment, you have a good time, you party, you do all of these things, and it don't yield the results. Now we have people petitioning the federal government to try to forgive over $1 trillion in loans, when the reality is that why would they be incentivized to send you a loan in the first place unless they can get a return on their money? What kind of business proposition is that? Yeah, you should benefit from it. You're supposed to be investing in yourself. You're supposed to be getting to a space to where you can make as much money as possible. It's not meant for you to have that loan forever, but then you wind up getting a bad degree. And I would completely revamp the college system in its entirety, but that's not the conversation that we're having today. You wind up getting a bad degree and then you blame everybody else for your problems. You say that the system is set up to fail you. You say that it's everybody else's fault. You take no responsibility for your own actions. And this is the problem, right? On the flip side, let's talk about trades, right? We're going to go all the way to the other side of the equation, and then we're going to bring it back to the middle. Let's talk about trades, right? Then you hear people say stuff like, well, you can get a trade, right? I know a lot of plumbers that's doing this. I know some electricians, some HVAC, and you can. That is absolutely true. That is not a false statement at all. And they make decent money. The problem with that is that I'm also getting phone calls from people that do these jobs that saying, Anton, my body is messed up. I'm tired. I don't want to continue to do this physical labor. And then you'll have people say, well, why don't you start a business and have other people that work for you? You could, but it's not that easy, because it's a big difference between starting and running a business and having a business mindset, right? People are trying to transition away from physical labor because it's beating their bodies up, and they see how it affected their parents. They can't thrive as they get into their older age. And once you hit 40, it starts to hit a little different, right? It's not as nice. It's not as cool. You don't want to get up. Your back don't work the same way. Your knees, you might need a new hip or some crap like that. It's bad out here, right? But it's still a good job. It's not the end all be all. But if you want to make a better decision, my suggestion would be to first start off at a community college, especially if you have to take out student loans, because you're going to pay less per credit hour for the thing that you really want to do. Significantly less. Sometimes 1/10 of the price of what it would cost you to go to a regular university. So you go to community college. Most of the classes that you're doing in the beginning is general education and sometimes prerequisites to get into certain classes anyway. Why would you spend the majority of your resources just to be around other people and party and bust down these holes and all of that other type of stuff to do general education requirements? You can literally go to your counselor and you can go to the offices, and they will tell you, hey, these credits are transferable. You can take this, so on and so forth. You go ahead and you do your first 2 years. You transfer over to the major university. And then it's going to say whatever the major university after you graduate within 4 years anyway, when you get your bachelor's degree. I don't understand the problem. Now, let's skin another cat, right? Other people say, well, Anton, you don't even need college nowadays. You can go to a boot camp. That's true. You can also be self-taught. The demand for certain jobs, including cybersecurity, software engineering, so on and so forth, has exploded. There is a huge demand for people in certain fields, and that the barrier to entry becomes lower. But then you have to ask yourself, what do you really want out of this, right? Because there's people that say, okay, I just want to be a software engineer for the rest of my life, and that may suit you. But me, I never just wanted to be a software engineer. I wanted to work my way up into the upper ranks of corporate America. Now, if that's not what you're trying to do, and think about it before you answer that question. If that's not what you're trying to do, then that's cool. But if you actually want to level up, the barrier to entry is going to be certain things such as a college degree. And it's going to be much easier for you to be able to ascend up that ladder. And then there's some other things that you got to take into consideration. Sales. People do things because they like you, not necessarily because you are the best worker. All of that other type of stuff. But the reality is that you can't get into the C-suite without getting certain levels of education. And you can complain about it. You can whine about it. You can say, well, it shouldn't happen to be that way. Yes, it should. Because it shows endurance. It shows your ability to be able to endure long enough in order to get to the thing that's really best for you. And those jobs are fewer. It's not as many. And so since it's not that many, it's capitalism at its finest. Supply and demand. Just as much as there are jobs that are available that are in high demand that you can't fill, and so the barrier to entry becomes lower, since there's less jobs at the top, the barrier to entry becomes higher. So, you have to consider the path that you want to take as a career, your lifetime, not just what you're dealing with at the moment, not just what you want to make in your 20s or your 30s. You have to consider what you want in a lifetime. And if you want great things, you're going to have to be able to endure through the end. Now, I believe that the majority of what you can solve for as far as your financial situation in college comes from just getting a job. You can do two things at once. You want to chill, you want to party, you want to have fun, you want to go out with your friends. No, you need to be working and grinding and then doing your schoolwork on the other end of that spectrum, right? If you need to take out student loans, that's not a problem. Just stop getting these fucked up degrees. Stop getting these trash degrees because you feel like this is your purpose. Your purpose is going to be revealed to you through the work. It's not going to be revealed to you through some job, some man-made job to fill a position or to fill a need in society at that time. That's not how it works. Jobs get phased out. Things change. I remember even as a software engineer or a front-end developer, we weren't respected in the early 2000s and the late 90s, right? It didn't become a respected amongst the IT professionals until they really understand that user experience was a big deal. It evolved from a designer to a user experience professional, all of these other type of stuff. But your purpose is not entirely based off of your job. A job is just a means to make a lot of money so you can do what you want to do at the end. Think about it that way. Do not put all of your stock into a job, but make sure that you get the position that's in need so you can make as much money as possible. Again, college is not a scam. Student loans are not a scam. They are meant to propel you to be successful. And in any great society, you want the best profession. You want the greatest people, right? Colleges even recruit overseas students because they pay more. And then in addition to that, they are more dedicated to being successful. They're not just here to play games. They're here to outcompete and beat you. All right. So stop looking at college as a problem and start looking at it as a potential solution to how it is that you need to make as much money as possible. If you are a person, think about it. If you are going to be a surgeon or you want to be a doctor, you got to go through a residency, and they usually go to school much longer and they have higher student loan debt. They pay it off much faster because the profession yields greater results financially. So don't get caught up in the whole idea of student loans or college is a scam. No, you a scam because you cheated yourself out of an opportunity to be great, but it's not too late. You can always go back to school. You can always be a little bit more dedicated. And now that you have me and you learn more, you'll get better results. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, and then more importantly, the Patreon. Link to the Patreon is in the description. I just dropped a video in the Patreon of how you can life hack your way to being successful and getting rich by, well, I'm not going to tell you how. You got to watch the video for yourself. Too much game, too much sauce, too much information for you to leave that on the table for $15. The other tiers are sold out. It's only one that's available. If you need personal coaching, make sure you tap into me. Go to my website, AntonDaniels.com, and let's get it popping. I love you. I appreciate you. I got a flight to catch, and I got this Benz to drive in. You know what I'm saying? Because we going to run the numbers up. Shout out to all of the bag chasers. We got a Patreon exclusive meetup in May 2022. We're going to be in Vegas. It's going to be popping, and it's going to be lit. Make sure you join the Patreon and the bag chasers. We're going to continue to run the numbers up. I love you. I appreciate you. I will see you guys in Houston shortly. Peace.